Welcome to Logos Bible Software Tutorials. And today we are getting into the third part of the Bible study workflow. And we are going to get into biblical people. Let's get at it. Let's go and look at the biblical people in our passage and the workflow in particular. Here we are in our clear Logos Bible software. We're going to go and we're going to look for our workflow, which is going to be right here, basic Bible study. And we're going to put in our passage. We're going to put in Luke 1:1-4. And what we're going to see, all our stuff is kept. So it keeps it in a node file and it assigns it specifically to this passage. Now, if I were to change, then what we would see is nothing. So it's important that the particular passage, verse, the book, the chapter, as well as your verses are all the same. So we are now in this number 3, and it identifies people in your passage. So it's going to bring up all the people that it talks about in your passage. And it brings up the biblical people. And if I want to, I can expand this out. And it only lists the biblical people. Next, that it gives you a little bit of an explanation of the desired outcomes that you should have. That an explanation of the biblical people. And if you're new, this is very, very helpful. All right. So we're now here at 3. So this biblical people, so it lists that Theophilus is mentioned, that the disciples are mentioned, and Luke is also mentioned in our passage. It also has a servant, a person, show all. So here's what is important that I want you to know. So you might be wondering, where are you getting this? So what they're doing, they're taking the passage guide, the information from the passage guide, in particularly that the information that is being pulled here is right here at the biblical people. Let me make this a little bit bigger. So up here, if you ever want to change the font of a passage, you just click on the three dots, and I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so we can see. So it's pulling from this section in the passage guide called Biblical People. That the exact same thing in the workflow is also here. It's pulling from everything. So this is the information that it is pulling from. It's pulling from Luke. So everything that gets populated here, it's going to put it in here. What's important? So, what's also important, because sometimes that it's got these people here, and what I like to do is I'm going to click on this tab, and I'm going to bring up my English Standard Version because that's the Bible I use the most. And so one is that we can tell that the Theophilus is mentioned here, right? Here. We know Luke is mentioned. Because we know that Luke is the writer here. So it seemed good to me, having followed all things closely, to write an orderly account. So this is where they're pulling from the Luke. Now, you might be wondering, well, where are the disciples mentioned? One thing that you'll see is when you open up the commentaries and what the scholars have said, the many have undertaken, as well as, so some would say that the many have undertaken are the disciples. Some all, and also, just as those who were from the beginning were eyewitnesses and ministered of the word have delivered them to us, that's also the disciples. Some would say that the many have undertaken is a different group than those who hear. Just to put this out here, this is where they're pulling from the biblical people. So they're all mentioned in our text, and they just do the work for you. Because I'm a huge proponent of you doing your own work and you just going through it. When you pull up this biblical people, pull your favorite Bible version on the side so that you can see it. So in our passage, Theophilus is mentioned in Luke 3 through 4, and that is true. The disciples are mentioned in verses 1 and 2. What this tells us is that Logos Bible Software sees the many have undertaken, and those who are from the beginning were eyewitnesses. They're seeing both of these as disciples. And then a lot of commentaries would say that. Now Luke, it talks about, it's in verse 3 here, where it says, it seemed good to me also. Now, there's a servant, so where he says, just as those who were eyewitnesses and ministers of the word, this word, ministers, is can be seen as a servant. It does use, we'll say this, is that it does use a different word. So normally the word for the Greek word for servant or ministers is diakonos. It uses a different word here, and there's a reason why. And when you go into your word study, that you can find that out. A person. So they're saying that a person is in verse 4, and that would be the many who have undertaken. So in here that you're going to talk about um who are the main players. So who is the main player in this entire passage, and who are sub players? So I think the main player here is Theophilus. Theophilus. And he's one of the main players because it's he who he is writing to. Um, um, I think that another main player is Luke here, because he's writing the gospel here. And when I'm talking about a main player, it's the focal point. Um, and we can also say that the sub we can say the sub players or the subordinate players. I don't like that, but other players is the disciples who he consulted about the account. And who were that's important because when you read into the commentary, that part of a historical account in that time is that you had to have an eyewitness, a eyewitness account. So I hope that this is how helpful. So this is going to be into a note file, so I can open this note. So and this goes in. This is everything in our note. And if I want to tag this, so say for instance that if I wanted to tag this, so I've already tagged this as Luke Bible Study Observation. Luke. So I'm going to tag that there, and I'm also going to tag that there, so that I can pull up all of my observations. Let me just show you this. So if I wanted, so I'm going to close all this out, and I'm going to go into my search, and close that out. I'm going to go into my notes, and when I come here, I'm going to search for my specific Luke Bible Study So when I'm gonna so when I come in here and it's here, it's my very first thing. It gives me this note. And and that's right here. So when I click on that, this gives me my everything from my basic bye will study. I'm gonna go in here, and then when I click on here, boom, it pulls me back to my passage. So it pulls me here, and I have this right here. I hope that was helpful. I hope that helps you to understand a little bit what's going on with this. Um, with this here in the workflow. Have a great day.